Welcome to listening to Paint Dry with Mike and Dan, a podcast about the art and hobby of miniature painting. I'm Mike, and thank you for joining us on our continued quest to become better, braver, happier painters. This is our second interview with John. Our first interview, actually, we decided to go ahead and not release because they were getting ready to launch the Kickstarter campaign the Friday of Adepticon, and we all know what happened. Adepticon got canceled. There was questions about the ability to get products from China, etc., i.e. manufacturing. So they decided to delay their Kickstarter campaign. And with that, we decided, because there was so much mention of the time and when it was going to launch, etc., that we would just redo the interview. And so, just to give a little bit of a backstory too, and full disclosure, I actually reached out to John after a friend of mine sent me a notification of their Kickstarter that was going to originally launch back in April. And I was very curious to have a conversation with somebody who is getting ready to start their Kickstarter campaign for the first time, and also learn about their journey, when they went from an artist to commission work to now being an entrepreneur as far as a manufacturer, etc. And so that's really kind of the focus of the of this interview, is talking with him about his painting hobby and his journey, and also, we are going to talk about the case that's coming out. Full disclosure, we are not sponsored by Mini Masterworks. We receive no compensation. They receive no compensation from this conversation. I will tell you, I am 99.9% sure I'm going to back the Kickstarter, given the fact that I'm a nomadic painter. And so I kind of move around the house, and I think my wife is going to appreciate if I have all my stuff in kind of a neat carrying case out of the way. Plus, I asked for it for my birthday. So, it'll hopefully all things will work out, and I will get a chance to be a part of the campaign. And so, without further ado, John McAvoy of Mini Masterworks. So, John McAvoy, welcome to the show.
Hey, Michael, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing all right, man. How have you been? How are you and the family doing?
Not too bad. Just, stuck in the house like everybody else, enjoying the time painting. So I've been able to take a little extra time for myself and paint a few things for myself instead of all the commissions.
Oh, that's excellent. Excellent. So, but, let's start out with talking about how you got started in painting, and, what started you down this road.
I'll go back about maybe 12 years ago. My son, I brought my son into the GW store. We were looking for something to do. It was wintertime, I believe, and we happened to be going by one in the mall, and we stopped in, and he started liking the minis, and painted some with him through the winter, but then he slowly got into sports a little more. So we had packed everything up. And then just left everything in a box, paints, minis, brushes, all that stuff. And, they just moved around with us from, place to place for a while. And then about, I'm going to say 6-7 years ago, I, was bored. Again, it was wintertime. There was nothing to do. I was cleaning the basement, pulled the box out, and kind of dug into them. And pretty much ever since then, it's been an obsession, I guess. It's just that they're fun. There's nothing. I don't play. I'm a painter, and I can't get enough new models and paint.
Now, those listening to this is actually interview 2.0. We had done an interview previously, but events of COVID-19 kind of changed the nature of what was in that interview, so we're doing this again. But one of the things that you talked about in that last interview was you had done an Armies on Parade thing that kind of got you hooked. Can you do?
Yeah, I fell into love with the Death Guard, the 30K Death Guard models, and started painting some of those up. And then I stopped in back at the GW store to pick up some paints, and the fella there had mentioned that the Urban Army's on parade, so he explained, what it was. And so I came home and spent about 2 months doing an Army on Parade's board till my eyes bled. And basically the night before, I still had quite a bit to do. My wife decided to jump in and give me a hand. with it, and we took it in, and I did wound up winning the Armies on Parade, which was nice, and talking to some other players or painters, and we had fun. But then my wife was hooked. We wound up leaving the tour. I'm the one that won, and she wound up leaving with models and paint. So we both
Nice.
got hooked after that, and it just progressed from there. I kept painting, and but it was getting expensive. I was buying models and paints, starting from scratch, and so I had the idea of going on eBay, and I'm pretty sure the majority of studio painters pretty much start out that way. And I got on eBay and just started selling the models I was painting, and they started moving. It took a little bit, took about a month and a half. I started moving models, and then I started getting contacted through email, and people were asking me to do commissions, and so it just kind of grew from there pretty quick.
Nice. Okay. So that's kind of the start of the company. Now, what role does your wife play? Is she one of your commission painters as well, or?
She's my manager. Well, you know how we had talked earlier, and you had talked about your partner. Well,
Right.
Taking care of the, all the technical stuff. Well, basically, that's what she does. She paints as well. She's actually a fantastic painter when I can get her to sit down and concentrate. So she has OCD. So I should say her side of the studio is remarkably clean. It looks like we just set it up. And mine looks like a tornado hit it twice. But as long as she's not distracted, yeah, she's into it, and she paints and takes care of the books and, all the billing, and, needs stuff ordered. I just hand her a list. She finds it, orders it. So it works out pretty well. We also have a couple other painters, that work for us. That's why we're able to pop out as much work as we do. I couldn't do it all myself.
Then, given that she's kind of the organized side, I would guess she's the one who uses nicer brushes and you use whatever you can get your hands on, right?
Exactly correct, my friend. Yeah, a nice brush, I don't mind, but and they are nice. There's some great brushes out there, but I'm very rough on my equipment. My airbrushes, and all my brushes. I'm tough on my equipment, but I can pop the work out really fast. So for me, getting the work done quick, I'll go replace a $7 or $8 brush all day long, if I can pop a piece out that fast. So it makes it, worthwhile for me. So me grabbing an Artist Opus or, a high end or a Winsor Newton or something like that, it just doesn't make sense. I'll have it destroyed in 30 days. It'll be done. So.
So I'm curious, what is your workhorse airbrush that you use?
It's Badger Patriot 105.
Okay.
We do about 80. I'm going to say about 80% of the work goes into that. It's been. I still have the original airbrush I got I think it's 6 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
They had to send it in once to get work done. Sent it in, got it right back. They're great. I started out with an Iwata, and I was having a hard time getting replacement parts. Being new, I wound up dropping it a couple times, and had to replace a couple parts. I couldn't get parts, and then at Adepticon, I wound up talking to Ken.
Nice. Mm-hmm.
Another fantastic guy, and he kind of set me on the right path. So.
Nice. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's my main work brush is a Patriot 105 as well. So it's nice to see that, good companies are getting good business for sure. And so now your hobby journey has kind of taken some interesting turns. So originally our interview, what kind of prompted the interview is you're getting ready to launch a Kickstarter for the Studio X carrying case. That kind of got delayed because of COVID-19 and uncertainty about manufacturing, et cetera. Now we're back on the books for May 1st, correct?
Yes, sir. Yeah, we've squared everything up. We just wanted to make sure because, everything that was going on, there was a lot of uncertainty, and we didn't want to promise everybody a delivery date and not ensure everything was going to happen the way it was. it's a big project to start out with. Most people thought I was kind of nuts for doing it, with it being a injection molded project, because the molds are really expensive to get done. And you got minimum runs and all kinds of stuff. But with the amount of people we've had help us, the companies, the company I work for normally does a lot of importing. They have stuff built. So the factories, I'm familiar with the people at the factories. So it's not it's not a guessing game. So we came up with a plan about a year and a half ago, I think it was, and then got rolling. So,
well, can you tell the listeners how you came up with the idea for the case and kind of what started it all? What started this whole crazy journey?
Well, it kind of all goes back to the wife again. She's the cause of many headaches, but also good stuff. And with her OCD, we redesigned our studio and did a pretty nice job at it. And but she kept she had nowhere to hang her brushes. And that was really bothering her, because she is the one using the Winsor Newtons and the Artist Opus brushes and all the nice stuff. And so we kind of rigged some clothespins up, a whole bunch of different stuff, and it was driving her nuts. And so finally we were at, I think it was Home Depot or Menards, and so we walked around, spent an hour trying to find different stuff we could use, trying to figure it out. And it just turned into about a month of us going, okay, nobody's got anything out there we can use that she wanted, or, that was convenient. And we wound up finding some engineers and started talking with them. And it kind of took off from them. We were really, really fortunate that, first of all, the engineering company we went with, they do really nice. They were basically make parts for Porsche and Shelby.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So we were lucky to get them to start. And then after going in and actually meeting them, we found out that 3 of them are pretty big miniature painters. So I figured, okay, we have to go with this. So it kind of just grew from there. We started out with just a brush holder. We had a little prototype that we had made up and brought it in. And after, I think it was about a week and a half, they called me up, and we just started talking on the phone. And they said, well, we've been to conventions and stuff. All the painters and artists carry all their stuff in shoe boxes, Tupperware tins, all this stuff. What if we put something together that'll hold the brush carrier? You can take it in and out, put it, hang it on your work desk. And then when you're going to go somewhere and paint, you can just pull it off and stick it right in the case. So, and it took off from there. It was about 2 months of video meetings, and, I had to bring them in samples, and then talking to other artists and other companies. And we wound up getting, coming up with the 3D, the drawings and everything. It turned out really nice. And they're good guys.
Excellent. Yeah, it's something I actually showed my wife on Kickstarter, and she went, okay, I think you need to get that, because I'm a nomadic painter. And so I never paint in one place, even in the house. And so I have a tendency to leave a mess.
We had a video meeting, and the last design, before it went through 3 or 4 phases, and we're like, let's try this. And the beginning of the video meeting, they just plopped the picture of it up, and how the light bulb goes off. We were like, okay, I want that. And so after we showed it to a few people. We've had some of our other artist friends and some of the other companies. We showed it to them, and they just pretty much, it said, you got to do it. There's really nothing out there like it. The components and stuff you can get, you can carry your paints and whatever you want, but having it all together in one, and being able to go to a convention and just set it on your desktop and have a nice little mini portable studio right there is, I don't think it's been done yet. So.
Very nice. And I noticed I saw a blurb that you posted from Shoshi Bauer who was actually the first guest on the podcast. So a lot of interconnections there. Now, with the case coming out, I'll talk a little bit more in detail a little bit later about the case itself. But I'm curious as to how creating the case has impacted your painting journey itself. Like, have you felt like anything's changed because you've done the case, or anything?
To be honest with you, mostly it's just I've had to take a break from painting a lot. I was getting a little bit of burnout for a while because I was just painting, and this took quite a while to work on. So I've been relying more on my wife and our other painters and stuff. But it gave me a little bit of I'm not gonna say break, but just something different. And now that end of it's we have the Kickstarter coming, but I'm not spending all my time talking with those guys, going to meet them and all that stuff. I've had more time to concentrate a little bit on, furthering my skills. So I'm very rough on myself, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Think my stuff doesn't look so great, and so I'm always trying to improve, which is nice. So I've had a little bit more time that way. And the other thing it's helped with too is just meeting other painters and talking to people and having them interested in it. And we've got a whole group of people. Tim, Ken from Badger. I've got James and Kathy Wapple, Shoshi, Anthony Wang, Dave Taylor's helping us with the project.
Right.
Just a ton of people that I've met through doing the project or knowing somebody who knows somebody, or somebody's contacted us. So it's been nice. Just a really, really good group of people. I haven't met any bad eggs yet. So
well, that's awesome. Yeah. And that's, it's one of the things that's interesting to find out how kind of awesome the hobby community is as well. That a lot of people support, a lot of support out there. So what I was going to actually ask you with that too, that you had mentioned talking with these different groups like, Tim Yonker from Ouroboros Miniatures, and then Ken from Badger, and then I know at one point you're doing a giveaway with Prorequel from Creature Caster. So how are these are the partnerships going well? Are they just as excited as you are to launch to launch the Kickstarter and get it going?
Yeah. Oh, without a doubt. When from the just what we pretty much the only person that's kind of newer to us is Tim, and he's been fantastic. But everybody else we kind of already knew, and we just figured we had started out with just the brush folder and figured, okay, we want to give them everything they need. And then as we started getting into the Kickstarter with Dave Taylor, and I'm like, okay, well, can we provide? I didn't know if we were able to basically sell the paints, the brushes, other people's products on our Kickstarter. But I figured it'd be a hell of an idea to do. And, David said, well, if you can pull it off, let's give it a try. And so I just made some phone calls and sent some emails out. And everybody was pretty much on board with it. So it's been really nice. So you'll be able to walk away with, paints, brushes. There's tutorials from Banshee. That'll be on there. There'll be all kinds of anything you want. Models. Tim's supplying us with that. I don't know if you've seen it yet. The twins. That killer model that he's given us to use for the Kickstarter.
I did see that. Yeah, on his page. Wow. Yeah, that's a beauty. Nice.
That's I couldn't have asked for pretty much something better to go with it. So you'll be able to walk away with everything or anything you want to paint. So
yeah, it sounds like you can walk away with a loaded case. Your case is already full.
Brushes, brushes, paints, the primers. We're going to be doing the Style and Res primers from Badger.
Nice.
And we have some pretty nice surprises that'll be further on down the road. The stretchables. So there's lots of add-ons and other good things.
Oh, okay. So you know what? Speaking of that, it sounds to me like mostly you've painted like gaming type miniatures. Have you ventured into something like 75 millimeter or bust wise at all?
No, sir, not me. Personally, I'm still me particular. I'm not very good with skin. And that's one of my. I've got a few, definitely a few spots I need to work on, and that's one of them. I'd like to have the time. It's just when things are rolling. Right before the virus hit, I'm gonna say we had about 65 to $80,000 worth of models to paint here.
Wow.
So yeah, I've got the studio's packed. So we're but we've had the models are actually here, but we've had to slow down due to the virus. So we've called all our customers, and they just hold off for a while, until things go back to normal. So I don't get a lot of time for myself. If
Hmm.
I keep the studio going and keep painting, I do enjoy everything I paint, which is nice. But yeah, eventually I'd like to get to the point to where I can just take a couple of weeks and just pick a piece and do it all for myself, and take classes too. I'm hoping I can go see, James or James and Kathy or Shoshi, or and get some classes in. But that'll be a little bit down the road.
Right. Yeah, no, I totally get it. Everything is kind of up in the air right now. I know like even ReaperCon and Nova Open are kind of holding their breath still to figure out whether or not they're going to be able to go in September. It's kind of it's a scary it's a wonderful time to paint, but a scary time kind of that for that business model. You know what I mean?
Well, you feel like a guinea pig if you go.
It's that's very true. Will everybody be wearing masks and gloves?
Yeah, it's going to make it'll make the cons very different, which you know it'll take away quite a bit, because it's just nice being able to walk around and talk to anybody you want, and they're a lot of fun.
Absolutely. So I want to ask you a couple of we didn't really go into these in the last interview, but what I was going to ask you about were kind of some fun questions that we typically ask people who are on the show. So pretend I'm Jason from Creature Caster, and I say, John, I want to name a paint after you. What color would that paint be, and what would you name
Oh boy, I don't know, outstanding orange.
it? Nice. Do you paint a lot of orange lately, or is that just a color you're drawn to?
I don't paint it a lot. I actually, my last piece I've been working on, I used quite a bit of it. And but yeah, I just like orange. I've always have for some reason. It's an odd color, you don't see too often. But I just, that's one of my favorites.
And it's a lot more flexible. I find that I use it in a lot of places that I never would have expected before really kind of taking painting classes, using it for shadows. And I never even thought of the contrast with it across from teal on the color wheel, but how much that pops and stuff along those lines. So I'm down with you. Orange is a great color for sure. Now, with all your gaming experience or with the models of gamings, is
Yes.
there something like models for a potential game that you would like to see? Like my example I always give is I would love to see a miniature game based off of Stephen King's Dark Tower series. And with all those miniatures, is there something like that you've gone like, God, that'd be a good game or good miniatures?
Yes, there is actually, and I had to talk with Tim about this a couple of weeks ago. We were talking about sculpts, and I don't know if you remember the show or the movie Highlander.
Oh yes.
I would, he had told me that there is a company that came out with Highlander, a game, and I'm not sure if it was a game or just minis. A while, it's been a while.
Hmm.
But I would love to see some, at least some good sized busts, or just something out of that movie and series to paint. I just think it'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I could see the three main characters as figures so easily. That'd be awesome. I'd love to paint those myself too. That's a great idea. So,
Little Sean Connery in there, and you get Kurgan and all the rest of them.
oh, exactly. Yeah, I think that would be awesome. Yeah, that would be that could almost be like an arena style game if you were to develop something like that. Now you got the brain churning of the of how you could do that. There can only be one, and promise not to make any sequel board games.
Oh yes, yeah, agreed.
So, one of the things we also like to ask our interviewers too is that our motto of the podcast is better, braver, happier. Is there something, a pointer that you've learned or something that from your journey that you could give our listeners as they continue down that road to be better, braver, and happier?
Yeah, don't be afraid to fail.
Yes.
Just paint, and you gotta paint for yourself first, before you go paint for other people. And you're gonna have to learn basically your own technique. It's good to watch videos and watch the guys that have been doing it for a long time, and get pointers and everything. But you've got your own way. You'll have your own way of doing things, and once you're comfortable with that, you'll do fine. But don't get stuck in a rut. If you're having a hard time with something, don't avoid it. Just pretty much take it head on. And it's like we talked a little while ago about the skins. I know I'm going to have to dive into it, relatively soon. But I just want to make sure I have time to do it, and do it right. So just, you guys, a lot of people see the finished product, and they don't see the 6 times it went into the simple green. You got all the swearing that goes in, and you're just wrapping up a few details with the airbrush and you get spatter, and you're just screaming and you want to throw the model. So all that, everybody does that. It doesn't matter who you are, and you gotta learn to roll with it, and just keep plugging along. Time and practice. That's it.
See, I usually see that mold line that I missed right as I'm like, okay, I think this is oh no. Like, son of a...
I think there's a big difference between there's, you got your hobbyists, then I think you've got your hobbyists, your commission painters, then you have your artists. And I think I'm under the category of commission painter, for sure. And the artists can spend, they can spend 3 days assembling a model, making sure all the mold lines are off and everything's just so. And the commission painters, you got to do a nice job, but there's certain, you can only spend so much time on a model, and there's a little bit of a difference. So.
Right. And hobbyists a lot of times, they don't care about the mold lines or anything. They're just trying to get something on the table to play the game, right?
Yeah, and it's okay too. I mean, if I was out playing, I'd be in a rush to go, just get it done and get it out on the table, But yeah, there's a difference, and you got to pick what you want to do, kind of, and stick with it.
Right, and absolutely, totally agree. There's room for everybody in the hobby, right? For sure, no matter what their preference is. So I wanted to ask you too, what, as a commission painter, what do you feel like kind of is your biggest challenge with commission painting?
Keeping right now, things are slow right now, but normally it's keeping track of of the model, who's doing what, plus still having the time to go on all the social media and do what we do to get the jobs. It takes time. So you just gotta, between the regular job plus all this, and everything else, you just gotta find time to get out there and plug away. It's just balancing. I suppose balancing your time is the biggest thing.
Right. That makes a lot of sense too. And then once you start getting the business, you got to fulfill it, and it kind of creates its own cycle of work there, it would seem.
Don't get discouraged either. It takes a while. It really does. I mean, you're not just going to paint something, put it out there, and then you're going to get 30 phone calls, and when you start, I see the question online a lot about people going, well, how much should I charge? And it's kind of a loaded question because, when I first started, I was just happy to get the money back for the model and a couple of bucks, and now it's, we're into a full blown business, So we've got a lot of time, investment, material, paints, our studio is just packed with paints and brushes and all the equipment and everything. So it's a little different for everybody, but as long as you're happy, you know.
Right. And I think a lot of commission painters when they first start out aren't necessarily calculating in their head the material cost as well, per se. Like they may be thinking about the time that they spend on it, but paints and brushes and all that stuff costs money,
Using material, just pretty much, yeah, you're right, everything, varnish. You got to put all that stuff into it.
So. Absolutely. And so a lot of times I notice that I see on Facebook a lot of frustrated like commission painters, and a ton of people are saying like, dude, you're way undercharging. You're not taking this into account. You're not, and so it's like, well, it's a learning process, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, it is. Yeah, without a doubt. Like I said, when my first few items I put up on eBay, I was, like I said, just happy to get, $10 over what I paid for the model to, and, then I can go get another model. And, it's kind of like an apprentice, type deal. You're just learning. So you're not making the big bucks, or you're not doing, you're just putting your time in.
Now, let me ask you this question too, since the Kickstarter is getting ready to launch on May 1, can you, describe the case to me and some of its features?
Oh, sure. Well, so it comes with, as we, talked before, it comes with there's a brush holder, and you can pull it on and off. There'll be a bracket with it. You hang it on your desk wall or your work area wall. You take it in and out. It has a handle. There's two removable tool trays in the top that can double. You put your bits in there, all your tools, and then they also double as water cups. So you can dump or empty your tools out of one, use it as a water cup for rinsing your brush with. The two side panels come off. They'll hold up to. There's two shelves on there, and they're 2 inches wide, so they'll hold combined on all of them. They'll hold up to 48 regular dropper bottle style paints. So your Vallejo style ones, the Dale ones or the GW pots, you can fit more in there but you got to stack them, so they're just a little bit wider. There's two wet pallets that come with it, and there's a very good reason why we came up with two wet pallets. So we got in a lot of conversations with other artists, and they were, you're not supposed to use the same wet palette for metallics as your regular paints, so they don't mix. You don't get, all the flakes and stuff, and then darks and lights. And we had to, we were trying to keep the case at a manageable size. So we, instead of going with one big wet palette, we decided to go with two smaller ones, so you can separate your paints. You can do your dark paints, your light paints, metallics, non-metallics, and we fit that in the case. And there's some extra stuff that we're not showing anybody yet.
Oh, okay. We're gonna have to wait.
There's some really good. Yeah, there's some really good, really, really good stuff that we kind of were working on right when we started talking to Dave, and we want to make sure this goes first. Once we make our ask on Kickstarter, we'll be able to do the rest, and we'll show everybody what else we got planned for it. So, and the other thing I wanted to mention too is the shelving units. They'll hold up to a 50 millimeter base as well. Okay. Mm-hmm. So you'll be able to stick minis in there. Yeah, they're 2 inches. The shelves are basically 2 inches wide. So you'll be able to fit up a 50 millimeter base in those. And there's some other stuff, like I said, I can't mention, some add-ons and
of course
goals that we have for it. But yeah, it'll be nice.
Yeah, you got to keep that suspense. You can't play your hand completely, for sure.
At it for a year and a half.
Right? I'm sure. Yeah, you can't pull a Tom Holland in Spider-Man. Just talking about like spoiling it every 20 time he does an interview. So let me ask you, what are the dimensions of the case?
The case is roughly 8 inches by 8 inches by 13 inches high, 12.5 to 13 inches high.
Okay.
So it's not large, but it holds a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it sounds like it holds a ton of stuff. Absolutely.
One of our biggest concerns, we've already had people ask us to start making a larger one. And I'm like, well, we got to get this one first.
Right.
First. We wanted to make it so, like I said, you can go to a convention and just put it right on your desktop right there. You're in class, just boom, open it up. You got your shelves full of paint. You got your brush holder. You got all your stuff, and you're good to go. And then, the other thing too is a lot of people, they just paint at home and they got to put their stuff away. They get the dining room table to paint for the evening or, afternoon, and you either got kids or the wife's not going to let you leave your stuff lay around all over the place. They want to pack it up and put it away in the closet. So we had to keep that in mind.
I can't relate to that at all. Oh wait, no, it's exactly my life. That is a perfect description of how I paint. I call myself nomadic. So, it's a thing of beauty. All right. Well, awesome. So just the final details of it. May 1st is the launch, and it'll run for how many days?
21 days. So 3 weeks.
So 3 weeks. Okay. Nice. Nice. And you could sign up for notification of the launch on the Mini Masterworks website, right?
Yes, sir. Mini Masterworks, ks.com.
Okay, and we'll put a link in the show description for you, so that way so anybody can just kind of click on it instead of having to worry about writing anything down or anything. So we'll make sure that's out there. Now, does that also functions as your company website as well?
No, our company website, we have it all made. It's ready to go. We didn't really want to put it up yet, so we don't have anything really to sell. Mm-hmm. So it's basically sitting there. So we haven't really turned it on. So
okay. Do you have a commission painting website then, or?
It'd be Wicked Gaming Studios.
Wicked Gaming Studios. Okay, awesome. And we'll put a link to that in the show description too, if somebody wants to reach out and is looking for commission work. So that'd be awesome. Well, John, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been awesome to talk to you and hear about your painting journey.
Appreciate it, brother. Thank you very much.
And thank you so much for talking to us about your upcoming launch, and best of luck to you with it.
Dan and I would like to thank John McAvoy of Mini Masterworks for joining us today. You can follow him on Facebook and Instagram at Mini Masterworks, and that's Works with a WERKS. We'll be back next week with another interview. We're not going to tell anybody about who it is yet, because, spoiler alert, we haven't decided which interview is going to come out next week, so, live, learn, and be surprised. But additionally, you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Listening to Paint Dry. Drop us an email, please, at listeningtopaintdry@gmail.com if you have a show idea, or if you just want to tell us what you're working on. Let us know how you're coping with your quarantine and isolation. Again, that's listeningtopaintdry@gmail.com. And just remember, your imagination is your best friend when you want to become better, braver, and happier. Until next time.
Listening to Paint Dry with Mike and Dan is a production of LTPTWMD. All rights reserved. No portion of this recording may be used without the express written consent of the host. The music is Death by a Thousand Questions by Springtide. Download from the Free Music Archive on a non-commercial attribution share-alike basis. All views and opinions expressed in the show are solely the views and opinions of the person who said them. All celebrity voices, if any, were impersonated and done so poorly.